Hi guys. I'm gonna let everybody get on here. Tonight we're doing Zentangle, so I hope that's what you're expecting by tuning in. I worked at the library today doing some curbside pickup, and it's our first step into real life again. So if you didn't know, we are offering that service. Hi Melissa. I'll let you know that you can sign up for a curbside pickup on our website through our calendar. So tonight we're going to do Zentangle. If you've never heard of it before, it is a type of drawing that was developed by a husband and wife. The wife was a calligrapher, and she had noticed that she really got into some really deep focus when she was doing her artwork. And her husband was a longtime meditation person, and together, as an illustrator and a meditator, they developed this type of drawing. I don't know that I would say that I really get into the meditation part of it, but it's really good, especially this time. I picked it up during this quarantine time because it's something that I don't really have to focus on. It's something that I can let lay and pick it up maybe just for 5 minutes, or even if I want to do it for 2 hours, I can do that. So I'm gonna flip the camera around so you can see my workspace, and we'll go from there. All right, so this is my sketchbook, and this here is a Zentangle that I have done. I'll kind of go through. The qualities of this are thick and thin, contrast and not. So you can choose to do it in black and white. I happen to have some craft markers, and these are what I have created, and some notes. So it's really fun once you get started. So tonight I'm going to show you several different patterns, and then we'll talk about ways that you can use them. Some people prefer to do this very specifically, like with a ruler and everything. That's not me. That would drive me nuts, and it's not as portable if you have to use a ruler for everything. So as you can see, my squares aren't perfect, but they're going to be okay. And you need 2 to 3 tools. You'll need a pencil. You'll need some sort of marker with a fairly fine tip, and then you'll need a marker with a thicker tip. My colored markers are craft markers that are dual tip. So one side has the fine tip, the other side has the brush tip or the thicker tip. So whatever you have on hand is fine. So the first pattern I'm going to show you you start just by making random dots on your page. And then you take one dot and you start making concentric circles around it. And again, my circles are not perfect, but it's okay. Now you notice I'm going to butt up either against the side or against my next circle. So that's going to be my stopping point, but it's going to look like I've gone off the page. I find it very soothing to watch this process go on, as well as do it. So maybe Now, if you get to the point where you feel like you need a little bit more space to fill, you can always add another dot later. But I'm going to leave it like that. And this is where you'll take your thicker marker to fill in your negative space. If you like it a little busier, you could have added another dot. I have just some instrumental music going on Prime. I think it's called Secret Garden. Depending on what mood I'm in, I might do electronica or something. So that took less than 5 minutes, and we did one entire pattern. So there's our first pattern. The second pattern I'm gonna do is one of my favorites, and it shows up in every single one of my Zentangles. So just 2 parallel lines next to each other. If you choose to do another set, these are going to be your foreground strips. And now it's as if you're laying straws down. You're just going to follow them. And maybe we'll have one go in this direction. So this video will be archived so that if you weren't prepared but you want to pick this up later, you can just go on the Facebook page and check it out when you have time to sit down and do this. Or if you just like watching it and that is your Zen moment. So that's all we're going to do with that one. I have checked out countless Zentangle books and looked at them and had thought to myself, that looks really awesome, but I don't think I could ever figure out how to do that, because once you see a completed pattern with all the different patterns in it, you don't know where to start. It looks very complicated. Until you start breaking it down step by step, it's a lot easier to swallow. So now I'm just filling in my negative space here. And we have completed our second pattern. All right, my next one, you'll need to divide your paper or your square. Actually, in Zentangle, it's called a tile. And I'm going to start by putting a little half circle in one of the corners, and then I'm going to draw some petals out. Make sure they go all the way to the edge. And then for the next square, start your center in another part. I can go back and fill that in. Oftentimes when I have my sketchbook, I just keep flipping my book around to whatever's most comfortable for my hand to draw. The petals reach all the way to the edges. And then with my thicker marker, finish my middle part of my flowers. And then you'll color in the spaces around it, and that really makes the petals stand out. I'm going to show you 4 different patterns to start out with tonight, and then I'll show you a couple of ways to put those patterns together. Number 3 complete. And the last one we're going to do starts out as just a zigzag pattern. All the way across. And then continue another zigzag so that you're making diamonds. You can go one row at a time, and you'll find that once you start doing some patterns, sometimes you tend to get lost. And so it's easier to not complete all the way. Now, not starting with this one, the very top row, because that's not a complete row. I'm going to start with this row. And I'm just going to color that bottom diamond shape. Again, if you wanted to be very precise, you absolutely could do this with a ruler. But since I'm just doing it for fun, I don't need to be that precise. So here's our first row. We're going to continue just by adding some lines around that. 2, so we'll continue to do 2. So the more consistent you are, the better that's going to turn out. Now you can go back to this one that's not completed and just finish the parts that you can see. I don't know if you can hear the background music, and then over the background music it sounds like a paper bag rustling, and it's my cats playing in a crunchy tube. Just for the effort of time, or the sake of time, I'm just sort of filling those in kind of sloppily, but enough to where you can see the pattern emerge. Continue that to the end. I'm going to move on to show you how you can put all these patterns together. So I've just cut, this is actually a 3x6 piece. And you can see it very specific, but this is how I like to do mine, and it's called a string method. So you use your pencil and you create string. It would be not a straight line, it's a line that, or it's a line segment that would look like if you dropped a piece of string on the paper. My goal here is to make 4 sections. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you can translate what you learned into doing and filling these 4 sections. So again, with our circles, we're only going as far as our border. And then you can go back and fill in these areas here. For this section, we can drop our straws. My mother-in-law, people know her at the library. She comes to a lot of craft events. But she was really into doing the mandala stone. And I had taught her that. And when I showed her Zentangle, she was like, no, I don't want to do that. I could never learn that. I can't even get the dots right on my stones. It's not that hard, just watch. So she watched, sort of like what I'm showing you now. She said, well, I can do that. So now I think I'm going to be volunteered to do little demonstrations for her friends when they come over to do rocks. Their next endeavor. So I just loosely covered in those areas that I can go back with my bigger marker and fill those in. And even though this is round, we can section it off to our 4 areas and make our petals. So this one is over here. So you're not even going to see that there. My center will be there. And then here will be my center there. And then onto our last one is our zigzags. And this kind of shows you how you can adapt these very square patterns, something that's not as conventional. And I even realized I just made up a totally separate pattern, because on this I went very square, and here I'm going round. And that's okay. As long as I just keep with my mistake. I do that often. Oh, and I'll say, oh, I filled in the wrong square, but it's okay. If I keep filling in the wrong square, then it looks like a pattern and you're just fine. So after it's all done, I could color this in. I did this very finish all my black ends. But one other thing that makes it very striking is to use your heavier tipped marker and go over your string lines so that the separations are very apparent. And again, you can just go ahead and start filling in. It really comes together and looks great once every bit of your paper has something on it. If you enjoyed this, let me know. I can come back another time, show you a few different other patterns and maybe a different way to show them off. But I'm going to leave you with that tonight. So I hope that you learned a little something. I hope you enjoyed watching it come together. Let me know if you have any questions. You can always drop a comment. And I hope you have a good night.